Hey, this is Eric over at TechnoRV, and in this video I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about the Max Transit Duo by Pepwave, the Cat 6 and Cat 12 versions we're going to be talking about today. So I've got one of them right here, so I thought we would just start going through the box, and then I'll tell you all about the features and make sure that you understand what you are getting here when you order one of these from TechnoRV. So the measurements on all of this and the antennas that you get is all the same whether you get a Category 6 or a Category 12 modem. So that's why I've only got one right here, because visually they're going to be the same. But I will explain the difference in the Cat 6 and Cat 12. But first, note the metal housing here. This is industrial strength. It is certified for certain levels of like vibration, and because industry uses this. Like, these are like really heavy duty units. We just get the advantage of that on the RV side, but driving the road down in an RV, well, that can get kind of bumpy at times too. I'm sure you know what I mean. This can handle that type of abuse. So the Cat 6 and Cat 12 differences there. So the differences are how many cellular bands can they connect to at one time. That's the difference. The more cellular frequency bands they can connect to at one time, the higher their speed capabilities will be. So you've got like Cat 4 modems that can only connect to one cellular frequency at a time. Cat 6 is something that can connect to two cellular frequencies at one time, and Cat 12 can connect to three cellular frequencies at one time. Now, these duos are they're duo because they're dual modems, which means that you can put two different SIM cards from different carriers in here, and it can utilize the resources from those at the same time. So that's pretty big news. So the frequency and the carrier aggregation, which is the part where you can connect to multiple frequency bands, it's called carrier aggregation. Let's just think about that for 1 second before we move on. Let's say you can only connect to one frequency band like a Cat 4 modem can. Well, you could be connecting to Verizon in a particular area, and maybe let's just pretend it's got, I don't know, 6 or 8 frequency bands available, and you can only connect to one. Well, what if you get connected to one that is overloaded? Your experience is going to be poor because of that. If you're in a Cat 6 modem, now all of a sudden you can connect to multiple frequencies, 2 of them. So now if one of them's overloaded and you're happen to be connected to that, and you're connected to another one that's not overloaded, it'll pull the resources from both of those and give you one better experience than you could singularly with just one frequency. The Cat 12, same thing, except now we're talking about 3 frequency bands. So imagine this, right? You've got one band that's overloaded and crowded, and the old person with the Cat 4, that's all they have access to. But now you can get that, and you can get some other frequency bands that aren't overloaded and have more available bandwidth and speed. Brings it all together and presents you with a much better experience. So with this carrier aggregation, what this is going to mean for you is just faster theoretical speed. So with a Cat 6 modem, the theoretical speed for a Cat 6 is 300 megabits per second download and 50 upload. On a Cat 12 modem, your theoretical download is 600 megabits per second and 100 megabits per second up. Now, why do I say theoretical? Because this Pepwave can handle those numbers that I just gave you. Now, there are other things at play that can affect the fact that you will likely never get those speeds at the max level. And that could be that the cell tower is just not willing to give it or doesn't have the ability to give it at that level. It could be that you have a lot of obstructions between you and the cellular tower that's creating interference. So there's all sorts of things that can affect it. But side by side, a Cat 4, a Cat 6, a Cat 12 modem, if they're all in the same environment, the 6 will outperform the 4 and the 12 will outperform the 6. So we'll just stick with that. And let's think about it. To run an HD movie, what do you need? Like 4 to 6 megabits per second download. So these units are really going to be able to put the power to it to be able to handle the consumption levels that, that you're likely going to have. So let's start digging into the box here and getting some of these antennas out. And what you're going to have here, because you've got 2 cellular modems built into one router, you're going to have 2 antennas per modem for a total of 4 cellular antennas. So this is what one of the cellular antennas looks like. And your cellular connection points are just across the top here, and they're labeled quite nicely for you. And you just screw these on. Now, I'm not going to screw all 4 of them on, but you can pretend that I did. But you would have 4 of them across here. Now, because you have multiple antennas, this means that you have built-in MIMO, multiple in, multiple out. You may have heard this term before, and I want to explain it a little bit more in detail and tell you why it's so awesome. Let's say you only have a single antenna. You're not multiple in, multiple out. You're single antenna. That one antenna is trying to make a communication to the next point, the next antenna, the next tower, whatever it is, right? And along the way, it's going through trees, there's buildings, maybe there's a rainstorm, whatever it is, there's things that can interfere with that perfect connection. And these things can create errors along the way to the tower antenna and errors along the way back to where by the time you get it, maybe it's not as fast as it could be, right? When you start adding multiple antennas, now in this case, per modem, you have 2 antennas doing that job. And so what it's going to do is it's going to reduce the errors in that communication. And by reducing those errors, you're going to get better performance and a better experience. So that's why when you hear the term MIMO, it's a good thing. And it is built into this router right here. Also, this router has dual band Wi-Fi. So in here, you'll also have some Wi-Fi antennas. And you'll have 2 connection points here. One's for the 2.4 and one is for the 5 gigahertz. And this is good news because having access to both of them, both of those frequencies, depending on what area you're in, like a lot of RV parks may just have 2.4 because typically 2.4 it's going to do better in longer ranges, whereas 5 gigahertz is faster than 2.4, but it can't handle those long ranges like 2.4 can. It's more of a closer range type situation. So the fact that you have both of them working simultaneously together, because you may be in a place to where the part has 2.4 and 5 gigahertz. Good, you can connect to both of them. And it'll utilize those resources together to present you with a better experience. Now, the transmit power and the fact that you're adding decibel gain with these antennas it just means that you're going to have a better experience out of the box than, say, if you're using just a regular jetpack. So like this one right here, it actually has ports here for me to connect 2 antennas for MIMO, but it doesn't come like that out of the box, and the transmitter in this is much weaker here. The antenna power is just not even close. So if you took your SIM card out of something like this and put it into here, you are going to see an immediate difference in performance. Without a doubt. I have seen this dozens of times myself by just simply transitioning it from one of those into Pepwave devices. Also, the Wi-Fi range that it puts off in your RV. So in other words, it brings this signal in, whether it's bringing in from public Wi-Fi or from your cellular plan. And then, of course, this is creating its own hotspot within your RV. And that range that it's creating within your RV is really, really good. So a lot of times if you use one of those little jet packs and you set that in the front of your RV and then you go back to your bedroom and you close the door, it can really struggle. With this unit right here, it's just going to put off a much stronger signal within your RV. So let's keep moving along here with what else you get. So there is a GPS port on the Max Transit Duo. So you got this little GPS antenna in here. You may or may not use this. You certainly don't have to use it to get all of the other advantages from cellular and Wi-Fi out of this unit, but you certainly can. So there is a GPS port here, and you just screw the antenna right into it. And this is the receiver here. And basically, a GPS receiver is going to operate best if it has clear line of sight to the sky, right? So you could try to set this up maybe in your dash or something, like in the window, to try to get some good line of sight. See how that works out, but really the recommended way to do this is for this to go on the roof of your RV. So you got some extra cable here. Now, what is this doing? It's basically just giving you your location at all times of wherever your Pepwave router is. So why would you need that? Well, maybe you wouldn't, and maybe you just don't use this, but just thinking of some reasons why you might use it. It does log some of this information for a period of time. So maybe you're thinking, oh, where was I at last week? And you could go log into the back end and see the GPS coordinates. Maybe another reason, maybe if your RV got stolen, right? And then you could log into the back end and see exactly where it is. That would be pretty handy. But at the end of the day, use it or don't use it, the unit is going to work just fine without it. You do get power connection here with your kit. I'm going to try and keep things neat here and move this over here. So a wall outlet, right? That makes it easy. And so plug it into the wall, and then you've got your connection point here. And this is 12 to 48 volts DC is the operating range of this unit right here. So with a wall outlet, you just plug it in and you're good to go. It also has a hardwired terminal block here. And when you get your unit from TechnoRV, not only do you get this, which just comes with the Pepwave, we also throw in 2 additional power sources, and then you can use whichever one is right for you. So we are going to give you just a DC wiring, a fused wiring for you to use with the terminal block, if that's what you would like to do. And then we are also going to provide to you a cigarette lighter style plug right here. And you plug that into your cigarette lighter, and then the other end just plugs directly into where this wall outlet plugged into on the back of the Max Transit Duo right there. So that would also be DC power as well. That'll make it easy on you. You'll have lots of power options for your Max Transit Duo here. So on the back of the unit here, you do have a WAN and a LAN port, and let me explain that briefly. WAN, Wide Area Network, is, I can explain this maybe to where you'll get it as it relates to like your own home, right? So let's say you've got your house and you've got like Comcast cable, and they provide the internet, and then you would have a router for your Wi-Fi that you would plug the Ethernet cable from the Comcast connection. You would plug that into the WAN port, right? And then this would rebroadcast the bandwidth from that, right? Well, the same thing from here. If you found yourself to where you did have access to a hard line from the internet, you could plug it in here and it would rebroadcast it. Now, maybe you're in an RV, maybe you're in a boat, you're likely not going to hardly ever find a scenario where you would actually be able to use that connection for that, because, you know, most places don't have hardwire connections for us when we pull up, right? We're traveling. There's also a LAN port. That's an output scenario where you Ethernet directly to, say, a laptop. Typically, hardwiring to a device with your signal is going to give you a better experience than wirelessly connecting. Now, me, 90% of, or probably 95% of the time, I'm wirelessly connecting to this. But I don't know, let's say you're working and you've got some Zoom calls going on, you just want to make sure it's the best of the best. You could plug your computer directly into the LAN port here, and that might improve your experience a little bit there. Now, the WAN port that, again, RVers and boaters will likely never use, you can reassign that to be an additional LAN port. It's just a click in the back console that will reassign that, and then you can have 2 LAN ports, and I suspect a lot of people will just do that. So as it relates to your SIM cards, this does take full-size SIM cards, and again, it's dual modem, so this means you can have multiple carriers and that it can use those carriers all at the same time. And each one of the modems has 2 SIM card slots. So you can actually put 4 SIM cards in here, 2 for each modem. I know that would be a lot, but some people might want to do that. They might want to just have 4 different plans and then they just kind of rotate between them. It can certainly do that. Now, as it relates to the SIM cards, we do have some adapters, because if you're transitioning, say, a SIM card that's not full size from like a jetpack or something like this into this, then you would just get one of these adapters from us, and you would pop that smaller SIM card into the full size adapter, and then it would fit in there quite nicely. So with the Max Transit Duos, when you get it from TechnoRV, you are getting 1 year of prime care with this. This is a Pepwave product, and basically what this does is it gives you your 1 year warranty, your 1 year worth of firmware upgrades as they become available, and it gives you access to Speed Fusion, and I'll talk about that a little bit, and the InControl2 console. And basically the InControl2 console is a Pepwave cloud-based product, to where you can go into this cloud-based product and manage this device from anywhere. And it's got a lot of reporting and neat little things in there that a lot of people really like the InControl because of its ease of use. Now, you can make changes to these units without the InControl just by accessing this unit directly, basically wirelessly connecting to it, going to your URL bar and typing in a 192 number, and it'll basically give you access to this. Now, if all that language kind of freaks you out a little bit, don't worry, because we are going to have a TechnoRV learning series that we're going to send to you with this device that's going to show you how to do all of these things. So we'll make sure you're successful. No worries about that. Speed Fusion, let's talk about that. So what Speed Fusion is it's a series of products that you get with this for the first year. It's something called hot failover, WAN smoothing, and bonding. Let's talk about hot failover, because this is pretty awesome. Let's say you have 2 cellular cards in here. Maybe you got a Verizon and an AT&T. And let's say you're working and you're on a Zoom call and you must have unbreakable connectivity, right? The hot failover means that whichever data card you're pulling from, if it were to fail, this unit would fail over to the next one in line in an instant, so quickly that it will not break your connection even on like a Zoom call. So I would say that's pretty spectacular. Also, you can, if you were also connected to like Wi-Fi connections in an area you were at, you would have basically 4 times failover protection. You would have your 2 cellular modem cards, and you would have 2 different Wi-Fi connections. So that's what Pepwave's all about, is this unbreakable connection for those of you out there that just absolutely have to have it. WAN smoothing. So what in the world is WAN smoothing? So what that is this Pepwave can take all of the available resources that you have to get internet, which in this case you've got 2 cellular modems, and let's say you have a Verizon and an AT&T or a T-Mobile or whatever in here, and then you've also got 2 Wi-Fis. Let's say all that was connected. You had these 2 Wi-Fis connected to sources, and your cellular modems, of course, are fired up and ready to go. What WAN smoothing is it will send, whenever you get ready to use it, say for a Zoom call or whatever, it sends packets out to all of these available resources. And for the lack of a better way to put it, whichever one of those resources does the best job at responding to the request, then that's the one that's going to get the job, right? But it continuously does this throughout the process of, say, a movie you're watching or a phone call, let's say. So at the end of a 30-minute, say, Zoom call, like you could have used some data off of your Verizon card, some off your T-Mobile, some off your Wi-Fi, because it's just constantly going out there and getting the best of the best and presenting it to you to make sure that you've always got the best connection that you can get for that. So that is what WAN smoothing is called. Bonding is the other thing you get with SpeedFusion products. And basically what bonding is this unit takes all available resources, again, a couple of Wi-Fis, a couple of cellular cards, and with the 2 cellular modems, and all together it goes out and gets these resources, it fuses them together and presents back to you with the best possible scenario that you could have as it relates to bandwidth speed. So, and it's doing all this in the background. So maybe your Verizon isn't that great in a particular area, but your AT&T is. Your Wi-Fi is a little suspect, but it doesn't matter with bonding, because it's going to go out and get the best of all of it, fuse it together, and present you back with a great experience. So that is the 3 things that you get with SpeedFusion. And again, this is just a simple, when you get this unit, it is a simple activation that you do on the back end, and we're going to send you all the information on how to make that happen, because once you activate SpeedFusion, then you've got access to these different levels that will make your experience much better. Another thing that these Pepwave products do is it's something called load balancing. And what load balancing is if you have multiple people accessing this unit, which, by the way, these, if I didn't mention it, this can handle up to 150 users. Highly unlikely that RVers are going to be using it for that, but that sort of consumption, but it can handle it. So what load balancing is let's say you, whoever you're RVing with, maybe you got a couple of kids, and everybody is connected to the Pepwave. It's highly unlikely that the consumption demands for bandwidth are the same for all of the people that are logged on. So what load balancing does is it evaluates what's going on with each person that's requesting the bandwidth for whatever they're doing, and it properly appropriates the bandwidth that it has available to everyone that is on, so that whatever their consumption demands are, it'll make sure that that it meets that demand. All this is going on in the background, nothing you have to do to make that happen. It is just doing it. So that's load balancing. All right, let's talk about external antenna options. So when you're on our site at TechnoRV, we're going to give you recommended antennas that match perfectly with whatever unit you're looking at, in this case, the Max Transit Duo. So these inside antennas work great, and you don't have to have an outside antenna to have a great experience. But the truth of the matter is that by having an outside antenna, you are going to have better experiences over the long haul. So we're RVing, boating all over the place, right? And sometimes you're closer to the cell tower than others, and sometimes you've got more obstructions in the way than others. So having that outside antenna is always going to have you sitting and ready for whatever the your environment may throw at you. So the pointing antenna that we have here is a omnidirectional 7-in-1 antenna. It is omnidirectional, and this is designed to be mounted on your RV. And 7-in-1 means that you're going to have 4 cellular connections, because you remember you've got 2 modems in here, and each one of these modems takes 2 cellular antennas. So it's got 4 cellular connections. It's got 2 Wi-Fi connections, which that's your 2.4 and your 5 gigahertz that we talked about. And then it's also got your GPS connection as well. So this is the one that we recommend to be used for this unit right here. Now, if you wanted to save a little bit of money, and we'll talk about costs on all this here in just a little bit, if you wanted to save a little bit of money on your antenna, you could get a 5-in-1 Puma antenna, and that's going to give you your 4 cellular connections and your 1 GPS. So if you're like, look, I'm not going to use the Wi-Fi like that, so let me save a little money on the antenna, I really just want it for the cellular, you could get the Puma. Now, some people like directional antennas because the Puma and the Poynting are both omnidirectional. They're seeing 360 degrees. Some people like to have a directional antenna in their arsenal. And if that's the case, let me reach over here and get this. We do have this Poynting directional antenna. So typically what happens with the directional antenna, obviously you need to point this in the direction of wherever the cell tower is, but by it being directional, it's reducing a lot of the interference of an antenna that might see 360 degrees, and it's more just focused in that one area. Now the downside is it's doesn't see 360 degrees, and at each location you're going to need to do some fine tuning, know where the cell towers are in your area. But some people really like having this type of antenna in their arsenal, and this is a 2x1 antenna, so it's designed to just connect to one of your cellular modems on the Transit Duo here. So what I want to do now is just talk about pricing real quick. Now it's January of 2021, and things can change, but as of right now, the Max Transit Duo Cat 6 modem is $799. If you want the Transit Duo Cat 12 modem, it's $999. So that gets you the modem, all the antennas that I show you, all the power connectors, and it gets you that prime care for 1 year as well. As it relates to antennas, the Poynting 7-in-1 antenna is $297, and the 5-in-1 antenna here, if you want to save a few bucks but not have the Wi-Fi connectivity on your roof, that's $199. So as it relates to the directional antenna, that's about $196. So all this is going to be, when you go into our page at TechnoRV.com and you're looking at this product, you'll see, hey, here's kind of the recommended antennas, and you can pick and choose on drop-down menus on what you want to get there. We also have extension cables that you'll see available. So the length of cable that comes on all these, you'll see those on our website. If you don't think that length of cable is enough, then we sell extension links for your outside antennas. So that is everything that you need to know about the Max Transit Duo Cat 6 and Cat 12. You can get them at TechnoRV.com. And if you have any questions, you can email, you can chat with us, you can call us. And then, of course, once you buy from us, we're going to make sure that you're well supported.